Welcome everyone! In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Holiday Cup Ultra League Edition. Now, at the time of recording this video, the Ultra League Edition of the Halloween Cup is set to drop later on today at the normal time that leagues typically reset. So as the name implies, Halloween Cup meta, that means normal, grass, ice, flying, ghost, and electric types are allowed. And that is, of course, at the Ultra League. CP limit should be a lot of fun. I believe this is the second time Niantic has introduced a specialty cup other than the Premier League. The first one was the Halloween Cup, which was a little bit of fun. I had some fun in that meta. And I always do have a fun time in the Holiday Cup meta as well. Those are my two favorite metas in terms of specialty cups. And there are a lot of good, fun options. We have some very solid teams for you guys that choose to play the Halloween Cup Ultra League Edition. So, without further ado, let's dive into team number 1. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 1, a very powerful team for the Holiday Cup Ultra League Edition, and it leads with Obstagoon on the lead, Charizard on the safe swap, and Giratina altered in the back to close the game out for you. So this team sort of works like an ABB style team. Obstagoon is going to be very strong in this meta. It's one of the few counter users that you can run in this meta, and any Pokemon with a fighting type fast move is going to be doing quite well in this very ice heavy meta. So Obstagoon on the lead is going to be very strong. Charizard, one of the best overall Pokemon in this entire meta on the safe swap, is meant to draw out any potential ice types that may be lurking in the back. So that can clear the way, hopefully, for Giratina to close the game strong. Now, I will say, with team number 1, this is such a solid and strong team that you can really mold this team to suit your needs depending on your elo and what you're seeing a lot of on the lead. So all that means is that you can basically bump Obstagoon into the back and lead with Charizard, depending on what you're seeing a lot of, or throw Giratina up in the front. You can run this team in any combination. I think starting out, first couple of days, a lot of people are going to be leading with a lot of ice, and you're going to be seeing probably a lot of Giratina on the lead as well. So you can start out leading with Obstagoon and then mold it to suit your needs based on what you're seeing a lot of. So with all that said, let's have a look at the scorecard here. And very good. This is a very strong team. Like I said, guys, has an amazing scorecard. You get an A for coverage, B for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. Very powerful scorecard for team number 1 here. Let's have a look at these matchups. So, like I said, Obstagoon on the lead, going to be quite strong. It's going to pick up a lot of good, very solid leads, as a lot of people are going to start out using those ice-type leads like Auroras. You could see a Abomasnow on the lead, depending on, what elo range you're at. You could be seeing some wall rain, so Obstagoon's going to be doing very well. The only lead you're really going to hard swap out on is something like a Virizion. Virizian's going to also be quite strong in this meta, despite having a major type disadvantage up against most of the ice types in this meta. And the reason why is because it's quite bulky, has the same stat product as the GOAT, Cobalion, but obviously Cobalion's not allowed in this meta, so we got to go with the next best thing. And that comes in the form of Virizion, and you guys will see some teams with Virizion on them, but I digress. Virizion is going to be one that you're hard swapping out on. Of course, that is not a good lead for you whatsoever. You're also going to have a few problems with the flying fire types. The two most common ones that you'll see, of course, Charizard, and you will see some Talonflames here and there. So Virizion and flying type leads, basically you're hard swapping out on into your safe swap Charizard. And another lead that you'll want to watch out for with Obstagoon is the Dragon Breath Giratina. You will lose that in the 2 shield. Dragon Breath Tina actually beats Obstagoon in the 2 shield. It is quite close, but Giratina does edge it out, so beware of that. Play wisely on that lead. You can maybe chip with a couple of Night Slashes and then look to get Charizard in there and mix it up a little bit. But do know that if you are faced with a Giratina Altered running Dragon Breath on the lead, you do lose that in a 2-shield. And that is likely the scenario that they will play out because they may likely have ice in the back, as Giratina would cover the ice in terms of protecting them from the fighters in this meta. So those are what you want to look out for on the lead. Everything else pretty straightforward. You're hard swapping out on the Flyers and Virizion into your Charizard and playing on from there. That's the beauty of this team is when I built this team, I was thinking there would be a lot of Virizion in the meta. So I wanted to protect Obstagoon from those Virizions, and both Pokemon in the back do that quite well. So that is team number 1. A very strong and powerful team. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 2. And here we go, team number 2. Another very powerful team with a very powerful core breaker on it. And that comes in the form of Lapras. Lapras going to be leading team number 2. With Virizion on the safe swap and Giratina in the back. So, very powerful team. Virizion's on this team to draw out any potential ice types that may be lurking in the back to perhaps clear the way for Giratina. You may also draw out a Charizard, which will be nice to get out of the way because Charizard can be quite the handful with the new Wing Attack update. Lapras going to be core breaking a lot of teams, guys. Keep an eye out for team number 2. And definitely consider running it if you have access to these 3 Pokemon. And the reason why Lapras is going to be so strong, mark my words right now, is because it double resists Ice-type damage, handles Charizard quite well, and Talonflame, which you will be seeing a lot of. You just have to really protect it from the counter users. And we have that in the back. Virizion's going to handle the Obstagoons. And can go up against opposing Virizions as well. Of course, that is a coin toss. And like I mentioned before, Giratina can do quite well up against Obstagoon if you're running the recommended Dragon Breath. So, very powerful team. I think this is the team to keep an eye out for and get on it pretty early on, guys. Lapras going to be quite strong in this meta. So, let's have a look at the scorecard here. And look at that. Probably should have had this as team number 1. Has a very, very strong scorecard. You get an A for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. That you don't get much better than, my friends. Let's have a look at these matchups here. So, like I said, Lapras going to be quite strong in this meta. Does very well on the lead in the 2-shield scenario up against just about everything in this meta. These narrow losses that you're seeing on the lead do occur in the 0-shield scenario, or excuse me, the 1-shield scenario, which is that's not going to be a factor if you're starting out on the lead. It's going to be in the 2-shield. So do keep that in mind. You're going to be hitting a lot of things for super effective damage between your Ice Shard, which is a legacy fast move. If you have a Lapras that you haven't used, maybe you've been holding on to it for a while, it's well worth the Elite Fast DM. You don't necessarily need Ice Beam. You did back in the day in the very early stages and early seasons of Pokemon Go Battle League, but I don't think it's you don't need it as much as you did in the past. So you can really definitely get by with the big hard-hitting Skull Bash, and it will raise your defense by 2 stages, which is never, ever a bad thing. So Lapras, very strong on the lead. Obviously, you're hard swapping out on the fighters and pseudo-fighters. Those are the most common ones that you're going to see. Will definitely be Obstagoon, Virizion, and you may even see some XL doubles. Some people do have those built. So do keep that in mind, and you've got some good coverage for the fighters and pseudo fighters in the back. That's what I had in mind when I built team number 2. Protect Lapras from the fighters and pseudo fighters, and you're going to be off to a very good start. Everything else you can basically stay in on. This team may struggle a little bit with the occasional Magnezone. I don't think you'll see a lot of Magnezone early on, but the way this usually plays out is people will get a good handle on the meta midway through the cycle. So around the middle of the week, you'll probably start to see those Magnezones pop up more often. But you still do fine. You're going to have Virizion. Virizion basically hard walls Magnezone. They can hit you for neutral damage with a potential Mirror Shot, but Mirror Shot does not hit very hard at all. So, and depending on the shielding scenario, Giratina can actually do quite well against Magnezone, as Magnezone's quite squishy. So even resisted damage will start to add up over time against Magnezone, and they can really only hit you with that big resisted Wild Charge. It is resisted, but Giratina is quite tanky, so Magnezone would take a little bit more effort to work around, but definitely doable with team number 2 here. Especially if the Magnezone is in the back, you're going to do just fine. But everything else pretty straightforward. You can hit those Charizards and Talonflames for super effective with your Surf. You really don't have to worry about it. Lapras, quite bulky. Can definitely tank a neutral Brave Bird or neutral Blast Burn from either one of those two and still continue to put in the work. So not a big deal. Ampharos could be a bit of a problem on the lead for sure, but in that case you're still swapping out. So on the electric types, you're hard swapping out into Virizion and playing on from there. Ampharos not too bad. Again, I would say has about average bulk. Not terribly bulky, but not terribly squishy at all as well. A lot more bulky in the Ultra League, I will say, than in the Great League. So not a big deal, not impossible, definitely doable with Ampharos, which you may see quite a bit of as well. But that's about it. Pretty straightforward with team number 2. Very good scorecard. And yeah, very strong overall. Definitely one that you guys will see me feature on the channel. So that is team number 2. Lapras on the lead, Virizion on the safe swap. And as far as Virizion's moveset, on the safe swap, you might actually want to consider running Stone Edge. It's recommended that you go Leaf Blade, but on the swap, you're going to be counter-swapped a lot, particularly with either a Charizard or a Talonflame. So having that coverage of Stone Edge, I think, would be the way to go, although it is recommended that you run Leaf Blade. But I think on the safe swap, Stone Edge all the way, guys. And if you're wondering if you can use a Shadow Lapras, yes, you can absolutely use a Shadow Lapras. You're going to lose a little bit of bulk, but you're going to make up for that with the extra boost and attack, which is quite nice with Lapras. So that is team number 2. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 3. All right, my friends, here we go. Team number 3, another very, very powerful team for you to perhaps give a try in the Halloween Cup Ultra League Edition. And it's actually a play on a team that I ran, I believe last season during one of the Ultra Premier Cups. But the only difference in that team is I had Dragonite on the lead because it was the Ultra Premier. I could not run Giratina, of course, but this is not the Ultra Premier, and we can run Giratina, so we're rolling with Giratina on this team. So like I said, a play on a team that I ran and had a lot of success with in the Ultra Premier. It leads with Giratina, Altered on the lead, Walrein on the safe swap, and Aurorus in the back. So, ABB style team for you guys. A lot of you who are used to playing ABB might like this team. Definitely one that I will give a try. And if you're wondering about Aurorus, if you don't have one, some suitable replacements would be perhaps a Alolan Ninetales. That's a solid replacement. Has very similar bulk and coverage in terms of the Weather Ball and Powder Snow, that is. You could also run Hisuian Avalugg if you happen to have one. That is also a very solid replacement for Aurorus. And if you don't have those two, you could try any other ice type, but those are the two best replacements I would say for Aurorus if you don't have one. So let's have a look at these scorecard here. And look at that, my friends. Amazing scorecard, identical to team number 2's scorecard. You get an A for coverage, B for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. You don't often see that with an ABB style team, guys. This one's going to be really strong, I'm telling you. So as with all ABB style teams, you're going to be swapping out on those neutral leads and of course on the losing leads. Into Walrein, you want to draw out that fighter or pseudo fighter so that you can clear the way for Aurorus to close the game strong. And there aren't that many fighters and pseudo fighters. There are a handful, and it's not likely that your opponent will have both of them on the same team. If they do, hats off to them, but generally they won't. So you want to draw out that Obstagoon or Virizion with your Walrein. Put in work with the amazing moveset that Walrein has, and then hopefully you have cleared the path for Aurorus, to close the game strong, perhaps even with a shield advantage. Aurorus, one of the better closers in this particular meta because it has access to Meteor Beam, which is an absurdly good charge move. Not only does it have a guaranteed chance to raise your attack by one stage, but it's one of the better moves in terms of damage per energy. So that's what makes Aurora so strong, despite having probably the worst defensive typing. You can definitely make up with that with a good moveset, and that's what we have with Aurorus. So if you're on the fence about it, keep in mind, has an amazing moveset, has an absolute trash defensive typing, but that moveset definitely makes up for it. And Aurorus is a lot bulkier than you would think, has some very nice bulk to it. So do keep that in mind if you're on the fence about Aurorus and maybe scratching your head wondering why it's ranked number 1 overall. That's why, guys. It's good despite its typing. But I digress. Giratina on the lead is going to be very strong. You're going to be grinning from ear to ear if you pick up those fighters and pseudo fighters on the lead. Like I said, if it's an Obstagoon, you're fine just to stay in there and play out the 2 shield. Get rid of the Obstagoon. Both of the Pokemon in the back can perform well without shields anyways. So do keep that in mind. Obstagoon, stay in, play out that 2 shield, take it out. Virizion, they're not going to stay in there. Obstagoons, they're going to stay in there because they may not be aware of the matchup. But Virizion, for sure, you're going to win lead on, and they're going to give you switch advantage, and then you can align appropriately. Ultimately, if you're met with a Virizion and they swap out, you're going to want to bring in that Aurorus, as Aurorus has the worst matchup against the fighters and pseudo fighters. Charm could be a bit of a problem on the lead, of course. The most common charmer that you will see will be Alolan Ninetales. You could also see Togekiss. Both of the back 2 Pokemon do much better against the Togekiss, of course, but they can hold their own against Alolan Ninetales as well. That is obviously one that you're getting the heck out of there on just as fast as you can, but everything else in between, Giratina is going to be quite powerful. You're going to be winning lead a lot with Giratina, and if you're faced with a ice type that runs an ice type fast move, you're swapping out into Walrein and playing on from there. So that is team number 3. Very good scorecard, very strong team overall, and it leads with Giratina on the lead, Walrein on the safe swap, and Aurorus in the back to close the game strong. So that is team number 3. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 4. All right, here we go. Team number 4. This one's going to be very strong. I'm telling you, this one's going to be very strong. Another classic ABB style team for you guys. This one I'm so excited to try. I think it's going to be quite powerful. It leads with Virizion on the lead, Hisuian Avalugg on the safe swap, and Aurorus in the back. Now, like I said, if you don't have Aurorus, some suitable replacements for this team would be Walrein, Alolan Ninetales. Those are the best 2 replacements for Aurorus, particularly Walrein, because it will be resisting, we're not resisting, but taking neutral damage from fire. But you could go with Alolan Ninetales as well. Virizian's going to be strong, guys, I'm telling you, because despite having a type disadvantage from basically all of the ice types that run ice type fast moves, you have quite a bit of bulk. Virizian has a very, very good stat product, has a lot of bulk, and can hit those ice types for super effective. You can fight right back with your double kick and your sacred swords. So, and it also handles Obstagoon, which is going to be the most commonly used pseudo fighter in this meta. It will also handle the occasional double that you may run into. And as for moveset for Virizian, you could go Stone Edge on the lead, but unlike on the safe swap, you have the ability to swap out. So I think going with the recommended Leaf Blade would be the way to go, because you can hit the ice water types for even harder super effective damage. So I think you could get away with Leaf Blade on the lead. Let's have a look at this scorecard here. And not bad at all, guys. Very solid scorecard, especially given the fact that this is a classic ABB style team. You get an A for coverage, B for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. Let's have a look at these matchups here. And look at that, guys. You're going to be winning lead a lot with Virizian on the lead. I almost didn't even want to put this team out there, but you guys know me. I've got to give you my best, and this is one of my best. This one I think will be probably one of the strongest overall on this list. And that's just because it's designed to get you off to the best start and win lead a lot. That's often the key to success. The more that you can win lead, the better your chances are to win the battle overall. And that is how this team is designed. So you're hard swapping out on the Flyers. That's going to be an instant swap into your Hisuian Avalugg. It is the safe swap on this team because it has broader coverage than Aurorus does. That's what you want to look for if you're building a solid ABB style team. You want to have one that has the broader coverage beyond the safe swap so that you can put up a little bit more of a fight when they give you their best with their counter swap. That's how it's designed. So neutral leads, swapping out immediately. Losing leads, of course, you're swapping out on. But you might not have to worry about that too much with this lead because you're going to be doing quite well overall. So pretty straightforward, typical ABB style. Swap out on neutral and losing leads. Draw out the counter to your closer. Take it out with your lead once you come back in. And try and grab a shield advantage to close the game strong. That's how the team is designed. And this is absolutely a team that you will see featured on this channel if you want to learn how to play it and see it in action in Pokemon Go Battle League. So that is team number 4, Virizian on the lead, Hisuian Avalugg on the safe swap, and Aurorus yet again in the back to close the game strong. So with all that said, let's have a look at team number 5. All right, last but certainly not least, team number 5, another powerful Ultra League Edition Holiday Cup team for you guys. It leads with Aurorus on the lead, Charizard on the safe swap, and Virizian in the back this time to close the game strong. This team, very powerful. When I built this team, I was looking to protect Aurorus from the fighters and pseudo fighters, and that's what we have in the back. Both Pokemon do quite well against the pseudo fighters and can hold their own against the fighters as well. The only real fighter that you're going to see is Virizian, but I will say there are some actual fighters that are available. You can run Chestnut, or you could see Breloom, but let's be real, guys. The most common actual fighter will be Virizian, and you've got protection for that in the back. And of course, Aurorus can hold its own against the Virizians as well. So let's have a look at this scorecard here. And look at that. Not bad, guys. This is a very, very strong scorecard for team number 5. You get an A for coverage. You do get a C for bulk, but you get an A for safety and a B for consistency. Not bad at all. Very good scorecard for team number 5. Let's have a look at these matchups. Auroras ranked number 1 overall, and that is for very good reason. Has a very, very good moveset. Quite spammy between Powder Snow and Weather Ball. And my goodness, does it have an amazing nuke move in the form of Meteor Beam with Stab. Holy smokes, Auroras. Quite strong, especially in this particular meta. So you're hard swapping out on the fighters and pseudo fighters, which will come in the form of Obstagoon in terms of pseudo fighters, Obstagoon and double actual fighters. Like I said, I think not likely you'll see the other two that I named being Chestnut and Breloom. You're really only going to see Virizion as an actual fighter in the meta. And if you do have a Virizion, you'll want to go into your own Virizion. You never want to go into your hard counter on the safe swap. That's the only case where Virizion will be your safe swap, I will say. And then you will play on from there. Otherwise, Aurora's going to be quite dominant on the lead. This team will struggle with the steel type leads, but I don't think you'll see a lot of them, especially early on in this meta. You may see people catch on. Like I said, the way that it usually works is midway through, maybe even toward the end, people will start to catch on and build counters for the most common teams. And you can take advantage of that pretty early on. And even still, the only true, steel types that you'll see a lot of, I will say, will be Magnezone and maybe an XL Alolan Sandslash. I think those will be the two most commonly used steel types. So if that is the case, you're going to be doing quite well. No problemo with team number 5. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Play it in an ABB style. You're going to be winning lead quite a bit. Auroras isn't going to have too much trouble with very much in this meta. Alolan Golem could give it some problems despite resisting its fast move pressure. Taking super effective if they run Rock Throw, but taking neutral damage from the Volt Switches. They get to those Rock type charge moves pretty fast, and you do take super effective. Rock does not resist Rock. So with your Ice typing, you do take super effective from Rock type damage. So with Alolan Golem, that's a tricky one. That's one that you'll have to employ some tactical maneuvering on. That's the only true core breaker, and you could see it. It does have a lot of play in this particular meta. I would employ the chip and dip strategy. Chip with a Weather Ball, maybe even 2. You can definitely tank a Rock Blast. Stone Edge would hurt quite a bit on Auroras, so you have to play carefully. Chip and dip with the Weather Ball, and then you'll want to go into Virizion and try to play on from there. Try and grab shields because Charizard will perform at its best with a shield advantage. So that's the only true, real core breaker, I would say, for team number 5, coming in the form of Alolan Golem. It's much better if it's in the back, but if it's on the lead, you're going to have to employ some tactical maneuvering and play around that and try your very best with that lead. But everything else you're going to be doing quite well on. Very good scorecard for team number 5. Very solid team overall. It leads with Auroras on the lead, Charizard on the safe swap, and Virizion in the back to bring it home for you. And that about wraps it up for my top 5 best teams for the Holiday Cup Ultra League Edition. Should be a lot of fun. It does run alongside the Open Master League. So I would imagine most of you will be playing this cup, and it should be a lot of fun overall. I always have fun in the Holiday Cup metas, and I don't see this being any different. But guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching, and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.